Joining us now is South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Governor, welcome to the John Fredericks Show, Common Sense for the Commonwealth. We are the undisputed conservative voice of Virginia. Governor, as the Democrats prepare to open their convention in Charlotte, the key question is, are you better off today than you were in January 2009? So how do South Carolinians answer that question, due in part to your own state leadership?
Well, first of all, absolutely not. We all know that as a country we're not better when the debt is higher, when the unemployment is higher, when the median income is lower, and when gas prices have doubled. So from a national standpoint, absolutely not. From looking at South Carolina, you're looking at a state that builds things. We build planes, we build cars. We're getting ready to be the number one tire producing state in the country. But we've done all of that in spite of President Obama. I mean, this is a man who, when we passed illegal immigration reform, he stopped us. When we passed voter ID and said you had to show picture ID in order to vote, he stopped us. And when an American company like Boeing wanted to create 1,000 jobs in Charleston, South Carolina, President Obama and the National Labor Relations Board sued that American company. It defies logic. It was un-American. And it's all the reasons why you are seeing me and a lot of other governors say we've got to have someone that works better with us in the White House.
Now, Governor, we have reports that the Obama for America campaign team is transporting South Carolina Democrats into Charlotte to fill up the seats at Panther Stadium for President Obama's big speech. Do you find that disingenuous?
I find it sad. They are trying to recover from what has just not been a successful term. I mean, the credit rating fell under this man's watch. We've seen government grow at astronomical levels. People are not happier. If you look at your average family, their wallets are smaller. They're worried about their children and how they're going to pay the debt. They're looking at, every one of them knows someone that's lost a job. They're wondering how they're going to pay for their kids' school and if their kids are even going to have a job when they get out of school. I mean, this is not the best time. And to, for himself to say, when he grades himself, he gives himself an incomplete. Well, as a mom of two, I can tell you if my child comes home with an incomplete, that means that he or she failed. And if he's admitting that himself, I think that they're slowly imploding.
Governor, in Mitt Romney's nominating speech in Tampa on Thursday night, the governor made no mention of foreign policy or our ongoing challenges in either Afghanistan or in the Middle East as a whole. In retrospect, do you think that was a mistake?
Well, it's all in how you look at it. He has talked about Afghanistan. He has talked about the military in other forums. You can only say so much in a speech, and I think what he was trying to do was really let people know who the man is. Let him know what the business plan is. Let him know what his plan is on energy. There's a lot of issues. What I can tell you is, as a military wife and a military sister with a husband that's about to deploy in January, I have had the personal conversation with him. And this is a man who will never apologize for America. This is a man who understands that in a time where our men and women are deploying for multiple times, he doesn't think you have to diminish the military. He thinks you have to strengthen it. He thinks that you have to have their backs when they're going to sacrifice for our freedoms, as opposed to a president who's cutting their budgets, sending these men and women out in uniform with darts on their back. It's not a comforting feeling for a military family. And so having said that, I have strong beliefs in Governor Romney and what he said to military families, about military families, and about our military on how he's never going to apologize for America, and he's going to keep us strong and proud, which is what we want.
So why not mention that in his speech?
You only have a certain amount of time. Listen, I had a 10-minute speech. They cut it down to 8 minutes. I was worried they were going to cut it down to 6. When you've got a lot of people speaking and you've got a lot of issues to talk about, you have to prioritize. And I think what he felt the priority needed to be was that he is going to create jobs, and he talked about how he's going to turn around and make sure that they become energy independent in 8 years. He talked about himself as a husband and a father. He talked about what he did with Bain Capital and how he improved businesses. He covered a lot of things. There was always going to be somebody that says, oh, but he didn't talk about this. But keep in mind, I think the day before he'd given a long speech on Afghanistan. So,
right.
It's not that we can't find his record on Afghanistan. It's not that he's refusing to talk about it. I think that in any time you have a speech, you've got so much to say, but you have to prioritize and say, okay, what should we say? And I think that's what he did, and I think he was great.
Governor, the NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, has attempted to co-op your new airplane manufacturing plant in the Palmetto State. How would a Romney administration have handled that whole issue differently?
Well, the Romney administration would not be sold out to union bullies. Let's be clear. I mean, what you've got as a president right now, whose biggest allies are the unions. And so we're forever going to have problems in right-to-work states and non-right-to-work states. What a Governor Romney or a President Romney would have done is never let a National Labor Relations Board sue an American company when you appoint those people on the board, because that hurts both right-to-work states but hurts mostly non-right-to-work states. If you're going to get sued because you create jobs in a different state, companies are going to be scared to go into any state, and that's what sends them overseas. Let's be clear. Boeing was creating 1,000 jobs in South Carolina. At the same time, they were expanding 2,000 jobs in Washington State. Not one person was hurt. Yet they came in and sued this company and said they didn't have the right to do it. That's not America. That's not what we know. And what we did was we fought, we got loud, we won, and what was 1,000 employees in South Carolina is now 6,000 non-union employees that just produced their first plane that says made with pride in South Carolina. And that's what America is. That's what it's all about. I've talked to Governor Romney about this. He never would have let that happen on his watch. Because what does that say about your country when you're fighting your own companies?
So how would you replicate that strategy across the United States?
Well, first of all, you don't let the NLRB sue a company. I mean, that was the first problem, is that it started in Washington. These are issues when you talk about right to work and not. The reason companies are flocking to South Carolina is because we have the cost of doing business is low. We've got a workforce that's loyal and trained to the company in South Carolina. The reason we have a low number of unions in South Carolina is because our employers appreciate their associates, and the associates appreciate their employers. There's a great direct relationship, and that's what they love. And that's what I would advise every state to do, is you have to take care of those that take care of you. And our companies do that, whether it be Michelin, whether it be Boeing, whether it be BMW, or any companies we have. They understand that you have to take care of those that take care of you.
Governor, should Mitt Romney get elected on November 6th, is there a cabinet position in your future?
Absolutely not. The people of South Carolina took a big chance on electing me. I have a lot to prove to the people of my state. All I'm looking for is an ally in the White House so that I can do my job as the governor of South Carolina. So I made it very clear when I endorsed him that I wanted nothing in return. I just wanted a good president that was going to let me do my job.
Governor, thank you for your time, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much, and please send your listeners over to our Facebook page to find out more about the DNC and more about this campaign as it goes forward.
Thank you,
so
Governor.
much.